I'm back, here to talk about the plays with a shaved head. Let's get down to it, quick and dirty. Okay, moving along into the acting categories. Best performance by an actor in a featured role in a play. The nominees are Michael Aronov in Oslo, Danny DeVito in The Price, Nathan Lane in The Front Page, Richard Thomas in The Little Foxes, and John Douglas Thompson in Jitney. Did not see Jitney. I think Danny DeVito is going to win, and Danny DeVito was pretty fantastic in The Price. He adds some desperately needed comedic relief to that play.
So what's the viewpoint? It's all worth nothing. That's what you said. I didn't say that.
Michael Aronov was also very impressive and injected a lot of charisma into Oslo, just as Oslo was starting to feel long to me. Nathan Lane also kind of single-handedly carried The Front Page, even though it had an all-star cast. He really brought it to life and made it engaging to watch. With all of that said, I actually think Richard Thomas deserves it for The Little Foxes. His performance is not the one that's being talked about because Cynthia Nixon and Laura Linney are alternating roles each night and playing, I mean, I've only seen it once, but from what I've heard, they're both playing both roles fantastically. But Richard Thomas was really a standout for me. Not afraid of the very dark and ugly corners of that story, and he made me very uncomfortable and has a very convincing episode, I guess you could say, at the end of the play. Don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, Richard Thomas, I think he deserves it. Best performance by an actress in a featured role in a play. The nominees are Joanna Day in Sweat, Jane Howdeshell in A Doll's House Part 2, Cynthia Nixon in Lillian Hellman's Little Foxes, Condola Rashad in A Doll's House Part 2, and Michelle Wilson in Sweat. I just have to say, the ladies in plays this year just killed it. This category is stacked, and I think any of these 5 women winning would be deserved. With that said, I think Cynthia Nixon is going to take it, and she probably is my favorite of the 5. Cynthia Nixon is nominated for her performance in The Little Foxes as Birdie, though she also plays Regina at half of the performances. Birdie is the smaller role of the two, but she manages to kind of be the haunting image that you take away when at the end of the evening as Birdie, when she gives this gorgeous about 5-minute monologue about her abusive marriage and her addiction to alcohol and the really difficult life that character has led up to that point.
Everybody knew that's what he married me for. Everybody but me. Stupid me.
Both of the ladies in Sweat are also very impressive. I think Joanna Day is the standout more so than Michelle Wilson. Michelle Wilson is also great. Joanna Day was just really, really gritty and strong and quite terrifying in parts of Sweat. In terms of A Doll's House Part 2, it's my favorite play of the season. I not even to the end, and I already just told you. I love that show. Jane Howdeshell is hysterical, has probably the best line of the whole season.
You, Nora!
Go see the show. It's in the first 5 minutes and you'll know what it is. Condola Rashad also was pretty spectacular in A Doll's House Part 2. She plays a mild-mannered character but makes actually a very loud statement.
I feel bad for the kids who growing up had the usual life. I feel special.
This is a tough category. I love all 5 of these women. Best performance by an actor in a leading role in a play. The nominees are Denis Arndt in Heisenberg, Chris Cooper in A Doll's House Part 2, Corey Hawkins in 6 Degrees of Separation, Kevin Kline in Present Laughter, and Jefferson Mays in Oslo. I did not see Heisenberg. I really regret it. Can't chime in there. Chris Cooper is great in A Doll's House Part 2. That whole ensemble is pretty impeccable. I think he's at a bit of a disadvantage here because his role is barely a leading role. Some might consider it a featured role. Corey Hawkins in 6 Degrees of Separation, also pretty fantastic. To me, also kind of feels like a featured role. Kevin Kline and Jefferson Mays, by comparison, just play a much bigger part in their respective shows and feel like leads. Jefferson Mays in Oslo is pretty great. He's pretty charismatic. His dialect is impeccable in the first act, and it kind of seemed to fade away. I don't know if that was a character choice or not, but it was something that I was conscious of. It was also kind of strange to see him be not in a comedy. He was still pretty funny throughout Oslo, but he wasn't anything like he was in A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, changing identities every few minutes. In terms of who will win and who should win, I think Kevin Kline is going to win. And out of these nominees, I didn't see Denny Arndt, but out of the 4 that I saw, I think Kevin Kline should win. Present Laughter is a Noel Coward play. Noel Coward plays... I guess this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't think that they've aged terribly well. They're just a little bit too tame for me. But Kevin Kline manages to make Present Laughter an engaging evening because he's just so dang charming. So with that, I probably would give it to him. Okay, best performance by an actress in a leading role in a play. The nominees are Cate Blanchett in The Present, Jennifer Ellie in Oslo, Sally Field in The Glass Menagerie, Laura Linney in Lillian Hellman's The Little Foxes, and Laurie Metcalf in A Doll's House Part 2. Okay, just like the featured actress category, this category is stacked. Any of these 5 women could win, and I think it would be deserved. I saw Cate Blanchett first this season in January, and let me tell you, when I saw her, and you had told me I would see a better performance this year in a play, I would not have believed you. I thought at that moment she would, without question, win the Tony. She literally blows the roof off the place, and she's Cate Blanchett. She's pretty spectacular on stage, just like she is on screen. But then we had Jennifer Ellie in Oslo. Oslo to me kind of feels like a epic TV drama. It almost feels like watching several episodes of a really, gripping TV show, and Jennifer Ellie is kind of the glue that holds it all together. She's really great in the role. Sam Gold's revival of The Glass Menagerie didn't receive the best reviews, but Sally Field, for the most part, got positive marks, and I actually really enjoyed this revival of The Glass Menagerie, and Sally Field did do a really different take on a very classic role, and I thought she added a lot to it. She made me fall in love with the text again, but she also made me rethink the character, and I wasn't mad at her for it. I thought she was pretty phenomenal. Her vocal work, the way she filled the theater with her voice was really impressive to me. Well, I guess it's closed now. There's a big reveal of her wearing a pink dress that alone earned her a Tony nomination, if you ask me. And then we have Laura Linney in Little Foxes. So Laura Linney is nominated for her performance as Regina, but she also alternates in the role of Bertie with Cynthia Nixon. Laura Linney was quite a revelation for me in this show. I've always respected her work, but this was just such a detailed and immaculate performance, and she was absolutely menacing and devastating and terrifying in this role. I was legitimately afraid of her, and I actually was tense and frightened in the last act with Little Foxes because of how intimidating her character was. I thought she was phenomenal. I think with the way the hype is going, Laura Linney is probably going to win this category. She's won, I think, most of the precursor awards this far.
Did he? I think he's a lonely man. I mean, imagine being lonely with all that money.
But I must talk about Laurie Metcalf in A Doll's House Part 2. I don't even know where to start. Her performance is just unreal. She tears through that script like it's a double cheeseburger. Every word she says is endowed with so much meaning and so much intent, and her history with every character on stage is so clear and so visceral in just the way she looks at them. But then when she speaks, it's like it pierces your mind, and it's this boxing match, and Laurie Metcalf. Oh my, I don't even.
I don't believe that you are angry, that you're in it, that you're inside the feeling of feeling angry. I think you're just outside of it, looking at it like, oh, there's some interesting thing.
So if you can't tell, I think Laurie Metcalf should win this category, although all 5 women are great. Best direction of a play, the nominees are Sam Gold for A Doll's House Part 2, Ruben Santiago Hudson for Jitney, Bartlett Sher for Oslo, Daniel Sullivan for The Little Foxes, and Rebecca Takeman, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, for Indecent. This is difficult to call. I have a feeling Oslo is going to win this. Bart Sher is going to win this. Even though he's won his fair share of Tony Awards, I just think Oslo really has the momentum behind it. Audiences and critics seem to like it a fair amount. I think, and Bartlett Sher is definitely the big name out of that list. Though, I mean, Sam Gold is kind of the hot director this year, but A Doll's House Part 2 is probably the play he directed the least. He kind of just put it on stage and let the actors run wild. If you ask me, Rebecca Takeman should win this hands down for Indecent. Indecent definitely had the most memorable imagery out of any play this season, and it's obvious that the director is the one who orchestrated all of that, and the director's work in Indecent, for me, was the MVP of the production, so I think she should win it this year. Best revival of a play, the nominees are Jitney, The Little Foxes, Present Laughter, and 6 Degrees of Separation. You guys, I'm so sad that I didn't see Jitney. I think Jitney's gonna win. It's the best reviewed out of the 4. Out of the 3 that I saw, I liked The Little Foxes the best. It was actually a very traditional revival, but it was just really well acted and it really worked. Now here we are at Best Play. The nominees are A Doll's House Part 2, Indecent, Oslo, and Sweat. This is a really interesting race this year. So Sweat and Indecent both played at the Public. Sweat transferred to Broadway pretty quickly after it closed at the Public, and it won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama this year. One would think that would make it the overwhelming frontrunner for this award. I think it's definitely still in the running to win it, but it's hard to call. As I said, with Best Director, I just really have a feeling that Oslo has the momentum this year. I liked Oslo. Again, it felt like kind of a TV drama. I was pulled in. I'll say this. I was surprised by how much I was pulled in, but I wasn't pulled all the way in, and it was really long. It's very wonderfully staged, very well directed. I just don't know that it was the play that gripped me and captured me the most this year. Sweat winning the Pulitzer is... I suppose when I saw Sweat, it wasn't surprising, because it was very political in nature and made a statement that I don't think had been made in American theater to this point. But you can kind of say the same thing for all 4 of these plays. All 4 of them comment on politics or society in a pretty strong way that's unprecedented. I think Sweat kind of had the advantage of opening earlier in the season in order to grab the Pulitzer Prize for drama. I think any of the other 3 could have won it had they had a little bit earlier buzz in press. I really did enjoy Indecent, but as I said earlier, the imagery was the strongest element of the production. I don't know that the characters were as developed as I wanted them to be. I didn't feel like I had a sense of who they were individually. They felt more like pieces to a puzzle that gave me a final picture. But again, the imagery in that play is just stunning, and the way it opens and the way it closes is pretty spectacular, and yeah, you'll cry. And that brings me to A Doll's House Part 2. You guys, I feel like I'm not equipped with the proper words to describe how much I love this play.
Ever wanted to get married again? Haven't you ever wanted that?
No.
Not even the possibility?
No, Nora, I haven't. You sort of killed that for me.
I guess to tell you a little bit about it, it's a sequel to Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House. But it isn't really a sequel. To me, it feels more like a riff on the theme. The premise is Nora from A Doll's House has returned to her house 15 years after walking out on her husband and children. And this cast of 4 actors is just impeccable. And I just remember sitting in that theater. The play was 90 minutes. It felt like 30. And every single line that was said hit me in some way. And I felt like I couldn't keep up. I was entertained. I laughed really hard throughout the evening. And I was so provoked. I felt like I saw the world in a different light. And that to me is what theater's all about. I think A Doll's House Part 2 is a towering achievement in playwriting, acting, and theatrical craft in general, and is my favorite show I've seen this season. So I think A Doll's House Part 2 should win Best Play this year. And I guess that's that. I guess the play category, though I'm a little bit more passionate about it, just there aren't as many of them, so I don't have as much to say. I guess I will tune in on Sunday and perhaps live tweet. Catch me over on Twitter. We can edit my handle somewhere in here, down there. I hate pointing, anyway. I'll live tweet it. Keep up with me. Argue with me. I'd love it. And if there's anything else this season that you meaning all 5 of you watching, want me to talk about, want me to go see and talk about, let me know. Okay, bye.